PGA Tour's Mexico Open at Vidanta begins Thursday on Golf Channel. The event dates to the 1940s and is an official PGA Tour event for the second straight year. World number one, Jon Rahm, is defending his 2022 victory. And it was just a few weeks ago that Rahm donned a green jacket at Augusta National, winning the Masters for his fourth PGA Tour victory of 2023. And with that win, Rahm became the first European player to win both the Masters and the US Open in his career.
Time now for a little then and now as opposed to here and now. A great song by Luther Vandross. Jon Rahm 2022 results entering the Mexico Open. Everybody was worried. 9 starts, 1 runner-up finish at the Century Tournament of Champions, 4 top 10s, 6 top 20s. No missed cuts, but hadn't won since that U.S. Open at Torrey Pines in 2021. And yeah, then flashback to this event last year. Rahm got it done in the Mexico Open at Vidanta, marking his only win of 2022 following a 17-event world right drought. He was the best player in the field, and he got it done. He said it carried its own unique pressure. But how about what Rahm has done since that win? Really hasn't stopped. 6 wins around the world, a couple on the DP World Tour in 2022 toward the end of the year, and then 4 very nice wins this season, 3 of them designated events, including the Masters tournament. So Jon Rahm gotten the job done. I guess the question is, what more can he do? Is it a similar spot in the calendar where Scottie Scheffler continued to play well but just didn't bring home any more trophies after winning 4 times? What do you see in the crystal ball for Jon Rahm?
Isn't that the vagaries of golf, though? If you told everyone last year after the Masters that Scottie Scheffler wasn't going to win again for the rest of the year, they would have thought you were crazy. Make the same point about Jon Rahm now, you'd be told a similar story. If you look back a year ago, in the 5 starts he had before he actually went into the Mexico tournament last year, he only had 1 top 10, and that was by basically getting out of match play in the group play. But performance-wise, here is where he stood a year ago going into Mexico versus where he is now. 2 things stand out where he is around the green: 173rd last year, 42nd this year, and 132nd in putting, and 17th this year. So he's a much more complete and in-form player now. That column on the left, it just shows a perfect identikit of a player who has control of every aspect of his game. So if he was dangerous heading to Mexico last year, he's a lot more dangerous heading there this year, and the intimidation value of wearing that green jacket probably adds a little.
Green jacket's like a cloak of armor for Jon Rahm, who's proving to be the best player in the world. Are we going to kind of put to bed the debate, though? Because for a while it's Rahm's tour, it's Rory's tour, Scottie Scheffler clearing his voice in defending his title in Phoenix and winning the Players. Or do you think we're on the verge of kind of Jon Rahm just being the dominant player of this era, or at least this mini era, we'll call it?
This really lays bare the recency bias we all have.
We do have it
these days. I mean, it feels as though every time Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, or Scottie Scheffler wins a tournament, we start talking about how it's their tour again. They own it. Right now, it's very much Jon Rahm's tour. But of course, in the 5 starts he's made coming in here this year, he only has 1 top 10 finish. That's the win in the Masters. He only had that 1 top 10 heading in there last year as well. But it feels very different this year, is that he's also winning these designated events as well, Jon Rahm. He's playing against the best players in the world, and he's beating them, and he's beating them on a consistent basis. Now, you don't see that all that often in this game, where a guy goes on a hot streak against the absolute best, the cream of the crop all the time. He's not playing against the strongest field he's going to face all year this week by any measure. But he still has to be considered the hot favourite. In a way, you could argue it's a little more pressure on a Jon Rahm, as there was. We had this conversation a year ago, that there's a little more pressure on Jon Rahm when you are demonstrably the best player in the field, as he was last year in Mexico. The problem is he's demonstrably the best player in every field that he enters now. I talked to him during the Florida Swing and asked him, how much are you competing against Nicklaus and Seve and Tiger? And he wouldn't go there with me. He still respects Rory's game and Scottie's game, Colin Morikawa's game. But it is a lot about major championships for Jon Rahm at this point. And when you look at the odds, I mean, and we talked about this and have talked about this the last couple of years. I mean, this is a lot of respect. 8-1 to win the PGA, 8-1 to win the U.S. Open, 8-1 to win the Open. How about to complete the career Grand Slam this year? 98-1.
This is someone who he may not be ready to compete right now against Tiger and Nicklaus and the specter of Seve, but he wants a seat at that table and believes that his game is good enough. He keeps things in the present, Eamon, but believe me, he is aware of the history that has been made by his predecessors. He doesn't strike me as someone who's going to be sated just because he's the #1 player in the world.
And the bookies aren't known for placing odds that are based on sentimentality at all. They're very much into the pared down reality. And when you see Jon Rahm with those kind of odds for the other majors this year, that it does reflect a certain reality of how complete he looks right now, how confident he looks right now. And the 98-1 in the career Grand Slam, that's quite impressive considering that coming into this year he only had one of the 4 legs. There are a lot of folks out there who are closer to those 4 legs than Jon Rahm is, but very few of them look as though they are in the form and with the self-belief and confidence and game to get those 4 legs quickly.
Have to believe a good chance for a PGA Tour win this season. #5 could come this week in Mexico.